Welcome to the Diversity and Inclusion Awards 2021, brought to you by Missouri Lawyers Media. Now, give a warm virtual welcome to your host, Liz Irwin.
Good afternoon and welcome to our annual Diversity and Inclusion Awards. I'm Liz Irwin, Senior Group Publisher for Missouri Lawyers Media. I'll be your host this afternoon along with Cindy Lash, our editor, and Johnny Aguirre, who heads our sales division. Both will be joining me shortly. We're so pleased and certainly honored to host again such a special recognition event for Missouri's legal community. Its purpose is to honor the incredible work being done by so many to ensure our differences are celebrated and revered, to better accomplish the task at hand and serve the greater good. While relevant health concerns have shifted this program to an online format this year, it does not detract from the celebration of the exceptional work we'll be highlighting today. In fact, we encourage you to help us make this an interactive program. We trust you'll enjoy it. Join us on social media at hashtag MLMDiversity2021. Post your comments and cheer on your colleagues. To our diversity and inclusion honorees, post photos of yourself with your family and holding your award. Today, let's socially engage and celebrate despite our distance limitations. While we aren't sure when we can all come together again safely in a large group to celebrate and network face-to-face, one thing is clear. Now more than ever, there's a need to recognize and thank Missouri's legal professionals who continue to lead during these challenging times. For those of you who follow us, you know Missouri Lawyers Media works hard to provide information you can use in your practice. We're a media company built on innovation. This event and its online format certainly relies on that innovation while continuing to build strong relationships in a safe way. For decades, we've continued to recognize and celebrate the legal work of Missouri attorneys. This specific award comes at an important time in our history. Today, we honor those who are making positive change by embracing differences to create a better whole. Each of you has a very important role in today's online event. This is an interactive event, so as you post to social media using hashtag MLMDiversity2021, many of your comments and some of your photos will appear live in our screen. This is how you can interact with other guests and virtually applaud for the honorees. So honorees, share your photos with your award, your family, your dog and cat, whatever works for you. Guests, tell today's winners how proud you are and why you appreciate them. Everyone, share comments and photos of your celebrations wherever you are right now. And without the partnership of our sponsors today and each of you, this event would not be possible. I want to sincerely express my appreciation for our award sponsor, Mickus O'Toole, and I'd like to share more from the firm with this video.
Hello, my name is Vince Reese, and I'm the managing partner of Mickus O'Toole. Mickus O'Toole is once again honored to sponsor the Missouri Lawyers Media Diversity and Inclusion Awards. As Missouri's largest minority-owned law firm, we greatly value the diversity that each of our employees brings to our firm, and we recognize the competitive advantage that our diversity provides to our clients. We know from experience that diverse and inclusive organizations are stronger, more creative, and deliver better results. So it is with great honor that we offer our congratulations to this year's honorees for their continued dedication to diversity in our profession. Thank you for all that you do, and please keep up the good work.
Thank you, Mickus O'Toole. I'd also like to thank our event ticket sponsor, Lashley & Bear, our celebration sponsor, the Bar Association of Metropolitan St. Louis, and our VIP sponsors, Hayden, Cowherd & Bullock, and Thompson Coburn. You'll hear from some of our sponsors later in the program. They've created shout-out videos celebrating their colleagues, so stay tuned for those. Before we begin the individual honoree recognitions, it's my great privilege to introduce to you a member of the state's judiciary who has and continues to foster a better future of diversity and inclusion while remembering the past. Judge David Mason of the 22nd Circuit Court in St. Louis is a driving force behind the effort to establish a memorial in St. Louis honoring the hundreds of enslaved people who sued to gain their freedom prior to the Civil War, as well as their attorneys and the judges who freed them. As convener of the Freedom Suits Memorial Steering Committee, Judge Mason has led the work to raise awareness and funds for the sculpture that will be situated near the old courthouse where most of the suits were tried. Ladies and gentlemen, Judge David C. Mason.
First of all, I want to thank all of you for your work. I came to this city in 1980 to go to law school at WashU. And I have seen over these years how our profession, individuals like yourselves, have been working to increase inclusion in this very, very important work that we do called practicing law. The Freedom Suits Memorial is a memorial to the individuals, the slaves, who filed lawsuits for 57 years up until the Dred Scott decision to seek their freedom. The interesting thing about it is you can imagine a slave suing their slave owner if they lost. It would be a pretty horrible situation. And we're not talking just simply beating or giving them a lot of extra work to do. They could be killed, or they can be sold to slave owners down in Mississippi and Louisiana, states that were known for having harsh conditions in how slaves were treated. And they would literally be sold down the river to those particular plantations. And so when you look at that, when you look at the not only the courageousness of the slaves, but even the lawyers who represented them, and then you think about the fact that all of these people who are controlling the system, because of the law, determined that the courthouse door was open even to the lowest level of human being in the city of St. Louis at that time, the slave, and that if they won what they were supposed to win, they would have justice and 12 jurors would order their freedom. In order for these suits to work, you had to have lawyers, judges, and jurors, common citizens, all agree that if the slaves won under the law, they had to be free. This was unusual. You couldn't pull juries like that throughout the formal South. And that's why historians have found this to be highly significant. That's why I felt we needed to honor this here in St. Louis. So I got a couple of judges together. We formed a small subcommittee. We went to the entirety of the courts, called the Court en Banc. They voted unanimously that there should be a memorial to the freedom suits and those who litigated them on the East Plaza of the Civil Courts building. We sent out a nationwide search to find a sculptor artist, and artist Preston Jackson won that. He won it not only with the unique imagination within his work, but in his interview, he made it clear that he viewed this project as an important aspect of his career. I hope that as years go by, people look at this memorial as something that the legal profession did for the city of St. Louis. Any lawyer coming and going into the Civil Courts building who takes a look at that monument and sees the story that it's telling will realize the importance of that courthouse door being open to everyone. Judges that walk by it, who may be contemplating some lawsuit that they might not personally like, and they're wondering, oh, gee, I'm probably going to grant a motion to dismiss it. And they look at that monument for a minute and they say, no, people with legitimate claims should be able to walk through that courthouse door and litigate those claims. It really, literally is going to preach to the choir and make sure they're all singing the right notes for the next couple of centuries. There needs to be money raised to make sure that the statute itself is protected. The city will own it, and they'll own the property, and will take care of everything around the statute, but there needs to be an ongoing maintenance fund as well, so that this iconic memorial is there in wonderful shape for the citizens of this city and all our visitors for 100, 200 years. You are being honored today because you are the soldiers on the front line of inclusion and diversity in the legal profession. As a judge, I just want to thank you so very much. You're doing a whole lot for me, all the students that I have taught, all the citizens who come before me seeking justice.
Thank you so much, Judge. Now it gives me great pleasure to welcome Cindy Lash, Missouri Lawyers Media Editor, to share with you how today's honorees were selected. Then we'll move on to the awards portion of the program.
Good afternoon. I hope everyone is enjoying our program so far. The individuals and firms we honor through this year's program were selected from an impressive group of nominations. They represent the epitome of ongoing work and exceptional achievement to effect positive change. They are dedicated to the profession to ensure it represents the many facets of human diversity and the equal application of justice overall, regardless of our differences. In the often difficult environment in which we find ourselves today, it is both a sobering and joyful time to recognize the heroes in our legal community whose work pushes boundaries and gives rise to positive change. The nominations we received highlighted work as varied as the legal professionals who do it, but they all reflect a laser-focused mission to appreciate our differences while reinforcing the necessity of inclusion. In selecting these honorees, we looked at the commitment and impact they've had on their firms and organizations to ensure diversity and inclusion of all humans and on the equal application of justice. To help select this year's class of honorees, we relied on members of a special selection committee composed of members of the legal community who share in the mission we recognize today. Their help in the process and this event was and is immeasurable. We thank each of them for their commitment. They are, quite simply, inspirational. So let's get started. It's time to meet Missouri Lawyers Media's selections for the 2021 Diversity and Inclusion Awards. And remember, keep on interacting with us by posting comments to hashtag MLM Diversity 2021. Let's meet our first group of honorees now.
Judge Dwayne Benton joined the United States Court of Appeals for the 8th Circuit in 2004. Prior to that appointment, Judge Benton served on the Missouri Supreme Court, serving as Chief Justice from 1997 to 1999. Judge Benton's efforts to hire a diverse group of law clerks has been widely remarked upon by his peers. While some may claim that diversity is a liberal agenda, Benton simply hires qualified law clerks that reflect the community in which he serves. Judge Benton continues to mentor his former clerks, including judges as well as other members of the legal community. Among his more notable mentees was Quinton Lucas, now mayor of Kansas City.
The ideals of the Constitution, that we, the people, can be more perfect if we first establish justice. It's the number one thing. Power must be derived from the people. Power must be exercised in accordance with established procedures and within established structures. But those cannot violate the basic rights of the people, especially those in the Bill of Rights. And even most importantly, lawyers present the ideals of our profession: ethics, civility, high standards of dealing with everyone. And that's because the lawyers lead. You look at government, you look at organizations that do good in all different kinds of ways. Well, I think what's important is for each of us to continue on, to do what we know we should do and do it well, do it every day in everything we say, in everything we do, every deed, every phone call, every text, every message, that we show civility, respect, and our high professional ethics in everything we do.
Rather than seeking a lucrative career in corporate consultation or other legal fields, Jennifer Oswald Brown chose instead to work in domestic law. She has been a guardian and mediator, as well as representing several members of the LGBTQ community, working actively to advance their interests as parents. Jennifer always takes into account what is right for the individual child and understands the importance of considering a family's social, political, and cultural norms, rather than forcing them into a preconceived traditional mold. She also helps families serving on boards for non-profit organizations such as the Child Abuse Protection Agency, Empowering Parents, and School of Economics.
Being inclusive as much as it is humanly possible is so important when you're dealing with obviously different, races, genders. And I do it because I want everyone to feel like they're inclusive, whether it's my work, my family, my friends. And I think that being inclusive and thoughtful and showing integrity is important and very needed in this world today. My law firm represents different ethnic groups and people throughout this community, including whether or not it's urban Kansas City or it's rural Lafayette County. I'm also very proud of the fact that my law firm has always supported me in serving as a guardian ad litem for the various courts and counties throughout Western Missouri. And I think probably my biggest passion at this juncture is the mental health component of my job as a family lawyer or domestic practitioner, trying to provide services at free or no cost to families that are dealing with, high conflict. You have a lot of mental illness, more or less being able to provide those services, mental health services throughout the community, regardless of whether or not you have insurance or whether or not you can afford to see a therapist. Because the children, if you don't have healthy parents, you can't have healthy children oftentimes.
Seema Chawla has been actively involved in promoting diversity and inclusion through leadership positions over the course of her career, including acting as president of both the Asian American Bar Association of Kansas City and the president of the Kansas City Metropolitan Bar Association's diversity section. In this role, Seema runs CLE programming focusing on diversity and inclusion and has always been the first one to step up to help with any events or other programming with the section. Seema has also been a great ally to Kansas City's LGBTQ Bar Association, KC Legal, as well as the Asian American Bar Association of Kansas City and the National Asian Pacific American Bar Association.
I think what motivates me in part is just seeing the progress that's been made. We've come so far, I think, as a legal community in Missouri, and it's great to see that. And then the idea that things can get better also motivates me. I think when you have better input, you have better output, and having people from all different walks of life just improves your output because you get so many different perspectives. The people that I've met that we've been able to bring into the Bar Association, to be able to hear their ideas and to be able to create a bar association that serves everyone's needs is really important. And I think the way we do that is by bringing in as many people as possible and by listening to their perspectives and implementing their ideas. I think the law impacts people differently. The way people approach the law is impacted differently based on their backgrounds, based on what they've been through in their lifetimes. And so not everyone is aware of everyone else's background or perspective. And if you don't understand how the law impacts someone of a different race or a different gender, then you're not going to be the best lawyer or the best advocate you can be. I think having the difficult conversations, accepting that there will be pain, accepting that it's going to be difficult, but that the rewards far outweigh the problems with the process. So I think it might just be kind of emotionally and mentally preparing for that and getting everyone ready for that in the legal community.
During her time at university, Jasmine Chen discovered that many minorities feel cut adrift by legal bureaucracy and recognized a dire need, especially within the Chinese community, for legal help. Beyond creating estate plans and assisting with complicated probate issues, Jasmine understands that simple translation, interpretation, and patience has helped her connect with her clients and understand their backgrounds, which allows her to empathize with their needs and concerns. Jasmine also serves the community as a member of the Taiwanese Women's Association, as well as the board of the Adam Morgan Foundation, which is dedicated to supporting and creating opportunities for neurodiverse individuals, about whom Jasmine is particularly passionate.
Once the international student and then the immigrant and then an Asian female attorney, I really do feel and understand the pain and struggle to feel like an outsider and to be voiceless. I consider myself very lucky to have had so many opportunities and many mentors who have helped me, guide me along the way through all the challenges. So I feel very obligated to bring the opportunities and the resources that I have had, to the communities that need them the most. I really believe, our community can grow stronger if we are willing to be open-minded and to embrace and then respect people's differences. Many of my clients, well, I would say a lot of my clients, they see me as their go-to attorney. So you can almost use the term, if it makes sense at all, a family attorney, to them. I serve the parents, the children, the aunties, the uncles, the cousins, sometimes the nephews and all that. Because they know they can always come to me for, a genuine consultation. I am very proud to say that me and my law firm build clients for life.
Judge Lisa Hardwick began her legal career at Aiken, Gump, Strauss, Hauer & Feld LLP in Washington, D.C., working directly under late civil rights icon Vernon E. Jordan, Jr. When she returned to Missouri, she joined Shook, Hardy & Bacon LLP, where she became its first African-American lawyer and later its first African-American partner. In this role, she often mentored young attorneys, especially those of color who followed in her footsteps. Judge Hardwick was appointed to the Missouri Court of Appeals for the Western District of Missouri in 2001, serving as chief judge for 2 years. In addition to her work on the bench, Judge Hardwick serves as co-chair of the Supreme Court of Missouri's Commission on Racial and Ethnic Fairness, which examines current practices and recommends measures to promote fairness, equal access, and participation of racial and ethnic minorities in the justice system.
What motivates me most in my job is the reason that I wanted to become a lawyer in the first place. And that is because when I was 7 years old and Martin Luther King was assassinated, riots broke out in my hometown of Kansas City, and that scared me as a child. And I came to understand that people were rioting because it was a desperate cry for civil rights. What I'm most proud of is the advancement that women have made in the legal profession, and more specifically for me, Black women. Almost everything I've done in my career, each time I've taken a job, I've been the first Black woman to do that. And the key is not just to be the first person that walks through the door. The key is to make sure that door stays open. Right now, I'm one of the co-chairs of the Missouri Commission on Racial and Ethnic Fairness in the courts. And the issue that we're looking at is systemic racism right now, systemic bias. Before, we've kind of taken this approach of let's look at this policy, or let's look at that practice, or let's look at traffic stops, or let's look at convictions. But we really need to look at the whole system. And we really need to come up with a comprehensive solution to that.
Congratulations to each of the winners. We're grateful for your leadership. And now for our next group of honorees.
Joining Rasmussen Dickey Moore in 2014 as an associate, Justin Yu EJ quickly proved himself a skilled attorney in the field of toxic torts, product liability, commercial litigation, and employment law. He became a member of the firm in 2020. Inspired by the help that he had from his mentors, as well as his mother's work promoting equity in the legal field, Justin serves as chair of Rasmussen Dickey Moore's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, which seeks to develop the careers of young, diverse, or disadvantaged attorneys. He has also helped mentor associates into leadership roles within the firm. Through Justin's efforts and leadership, Rasmussen Dickey Moore continues to take a strong stance against systematic racism and racial injustice.
One of the reasons why I became an attorney is really to help people. And with diversity, with the inclusion, I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of great mentors, a lot of attorneys that reach back and help me, and I just want to pay it forward. I'm very fortunate with my firm is that there's a buy-in, and for diversity and inclusion and equity to work in a law firm, you got to get a buy-in. And I'm really proud that my firm's taking it seriously. They're taking it seriously by not just having diverse hiring practices, but also putting action to word and creating resources to help diverse attorneys to continue to strive. Who really kind of motivates me is my mom. Her story has really inspired me. She grew up in Poplar Bluff, Missouri during the Jim Crow era. Her class was the first class to integrate the all-white high school in Poplar Bluff Senior High. I recall her telling me about some of the harassment that she received, but despite that, she still, strived to create a positive environment for all students. And her work in diversity is just simply amazing.
From all of us at Rasmussen Digby Horn, congratulations to our partner, Justin EJ. Justin shows the impact that small and mid-sized law firms can have in bringing diversity to the legal profession. We're proud of his work to help build a strong and inclusive culture for everyone at RDM. Congrats, Justin.
For 13 years, Quentin Jennings served on the Kansas City Board of Election Commissioners, ensuring a diverse voice had a seat at the table where decisions were being made. Today, he continues in that spirit as chairman of Polsinelli's Diversity and Inclusion Committee, helping the firm achieve nationwide recognition for its leadership in diversity and inclusion. In this role, he works closely with the Executive Management Committee on the development of the firm's diversity initiatives. He is also a former member of Power Connections, an elite mentoring program for businesses owned by minorities and women, and continues to mentor business owners to this day. When he isn't practicing law, Quentin is involved in youth development programming and is a tremendous recruiter, particularly with regard to diversity in hiring.
Given that there's not as many African Americans or minorities in the legal profession, what motivated me was always trying to assist more attorneys or more minorities to get into the legal profession. And so that's one of the things that really motivates me is being able to excel in this profession and being able to help others get into the profession as well as help them hopefully become a shareholder as well. Not only from a personal perspective, but also other mentors within the profession. When I initially wasn't sure if I was going to be an attorney, I reached out to a former mayor, Sly James, here in town. And he was the first African-American shareholder at Shook Hardy Bacon. And he actually assisted me on my course to becoming an attorney. And then once I actually got into the profession, not only is he still a mentor, but other individuals, not only minorities, but Caucasians that have helped me succeed in this profession that have, been mentors and sponsors to help me exceed in this as well. I think there's two goals still that's outstanding. One, trying to get more minorities into the profession, as well as being able to work in larger law firms. I think that's one goal. And the other goal is once they are actually in the profession or within a firm, I think it's incumbent on individuals such as myself and others that are in these positions to actually assist them and foster them to become a shareholder in these firms and really support them and retain those individuals.
Mark H. Levison is one of only 2 lawyers in the history of the Missouri Bar to serve as both president of the Bar Association of Metropolitan St. Louis and the Trial Lawyers Association of St. Louis, as well as serving as a member of the Missouri Board of Governors. Today, Mark is a community leader who serves on an impressive number of governmental and charitable boards, including the board of the Urban League of Metropolitan St. Louis, of which he is currently chair. In 1990, Levison helped form the St. Louis Internship Program. It began as a way to hire students from the city to work in St. Louis's law firms, but since then the program has grown considerably. With Mark's help, it has now expanded into 37 additional cities, as well as merging with the Boys and Girls Club of St. Louis.
We all kind of do what comes natural to us, There's a basic instinct among many people to do the right thing. And the right thing is just what feels right to you. So I never really sit and think about, why I do anything or what motivates me. It just all seems to naturally happen. You see an injustice and you think you can do something about it. Being a lawyer, you have more capabilities to do things in that arena than non-lawyers. Well, obviously, there's some people in this country that don't feel like they have access to justice, and we as lawyers ought to be attuned to that. I'd say I'm fortunate that I just love what I do, so it makes it all easy. I mean, every day, I've often said there's never a day when I didn't want to go to work, not ever.
Mark, you've made such a difference in the lives of so many people in the St. Louis community. Lashley and Bear is proud of you. and we congratulate you on this much-deserved award.
Mira Mudvani paves the way for immigrants to be included in the Missouri workforce. Her firm focuses on complex immigration matters, such as corporate immigration compliance and implementation of employer talent acquisition strategy involving visas for international personnel. Mira also reaches out to women to support them in the practice of law, freely giving her time to lawyers looking to work on immigration cases or build a law firm of their own. Not only has Mira served as president of the Missouri Bar Association's Immigration Law Committee and chair of the Kansas Bar Association's Immigration Law Section, but she has also written books and articles and speaks on business immigration issues before attorneys and business leaders across the United States.
Most decision makers in corporations where that we represent are men. So even getting your foot in the door is an issue. We don't get chosen because we're women, we get chosen despite. Because we've developed excellent expertise, we are one of the strongest practices in the country in business immigration. That's not an easy task for a firm of 4 women lawyers. 2 lawyers at the firm also teach at the law school several programs on immigration law, including corporate immigration law and our pro bono practice. We are geeks and we love what we do because business immigration law is very, very complicated and easy is not part of what we do there. And in our pro bono program where we represent immigrant women and children who are immigrants, also complexity, but also a lot of compassion. And seeing human beings as if they are us.
Professor S. David Mitchell serves as the Ruth L. Halston Professor of Law at the University of Missouri School of Law. Additionally, he is co-director of the Michael A. Middleton Center for Race, Citizenship, and Justice at the University of Missouri, an interdisciplinary scholar who looks at the criminal justice system using a sociological lens. David is an affiliate member of the University of Missouri Black Studies program and a policy research scholar with the University of Missouri Institute for Public Policy. As the only Black tenured faculty member at the law school, he is a go-to resource for every Black student needing support, encouragement, and guidance.
Without those who have done diversity and inclusion work before, I wouldn't be where I am today. And so I find myself, quite honestly, sort of standing on the shoulders of ancestors, walking down the path of those who've done this work before. And for me, it is my opportunity to sort of pay them back and to pave the way for future generations. So, I mean, there are a number of people who've contributed to sort of, where I am and the work that I do. 2 of them are very personal. One of them is my grandmother, Mary Hardy, who was a sharecropper in North Carolina. And the other is my mother, Maud Bowser, who was also a sharecropper, but who attended the March on Washington. And when I asked her about why she attended it, her answer was that she felt that she had to do something as part of this movement because it was far bigger than herself, and that she was actually working on behalf of generations to come, such as myself and her grandchildren, my children. And so I feel the same thing. They've always sort of taught me to have this sort of duty and responsibility to others and beyond oneself. And so the work that I do is about that, right? Is to make opportunities and access available to others. Quite honestly, what we need to be doing is more than just bringing folks in, but we need to be changing the culture and the climate of the places where we work and our institutions so that those individuals feel valued, they feel heard, and they feel respected. I think we far too often reduce diversity to a singular factor of being race only, but that also means for first generation students who may be veterans, women, the LGBTQI community, and recognizing that they all come with very different challenges and that we need to respect the unique challenges of each of those groups to make places that are comfortable for those groups to fit into.
On behalf of Mizzou Law, I extend congratulations to Professor and Director of the Middleton Center, David Mitchell, and our alumnus, Quentin Jennings, of the class of 2001. We are so proud of you.
Maurice Moss serves on the Diversity and Inclusion Committee of City Utilities of Springfield, as well as supervising its legal department's internship program. which is dedicated to bringing diverse attorneys into the Springfield area and retaining them. He has presented on the topic of diversity and inclusion on behalf of the Springfield Metropolitan Bar Association, Bar Plan, and as part of a Missouri Bar Project, he has held conferences with some of the largest law firms in Springfield on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Maurice volunteers with brother-to-brother chapters of Student African American Brotherhood, as well as Boys and Girls Clubs, where he has served as chair of the Diversity Committee for over a year and is currently vice president of the governing board.
Having that impact on a society, having that impact to promote change and making sure what I do as an attorney is not impacting one group more than another group, and making sure that those changes is not having a desperate impact on the group. And so for me, that's why I get excited about diversity. What makes me excited about what I do as an attorney, what I do for my company, is that it's evolving. I mean, we see distributed generation, where you see a solar rooftop is going in, you see storage, you see the development of batteries and electric vehicles. All those play a role into that economic situation, the diversity we see across the state of Missouri and across the United States, and I get to play a role in that. There's been so many people that have influenced me in the field of diversity and inclusion, and I hate to name people, but if I was going to name one, it's going to sound cliche. I would say it's my family. It's my grandfather. My grandfather, I would say, unknowingly probably influenced my diversity and inclusion the most, from the standpoint. Just being a Black farmer during that time, you were at a disadvantage from being in rural areas, and Black farmers was frowned upon.
Congratulations to each of our honorees. And now I'll turn it over to Johnny Aguirre.
Thank you, Cindy. And what great shout out videos. They really make for a special congratulations to your colleagues. Thanks again to all of you watching our program and for posting to #MLM Diversity 2021. The bottom of the screen is full of what is the new norm for virtual cheers, applause, handshakes, high fives, and hugs. Keep them coming. And now for our next group of honorees.
Catherine Reed is a partner at Hayden, Cowherd & Bullock. She is a community leader working with organizations to help promote and support diversity and inclusion. As a Minorities in Business board member, she interacts with minority and women-owned businesses in Springfield and the surrounding area. Catherine also served as a panel speaker for several community events aimed at promoting diversity and inclusion, as well as a keynote speaker and mentor at Missouri State University. She has been honored with many awards during her career, including Missouri Lawyers Weekly's Women's Justice Rising Star Award.
What motivates me most in my work for diversity and inclusion as a lawyer and as a professional in the Springfield community is really to promote the interests of the community as a whole. I think my clients not only benefit from the diverse population in the community, but also it helps them reach their clients in the same way I reach mine. I think that I am most proud of my law firm for being open-minded and diverse and appreciating different cultural, religious, and issues relating to individuals with disabilities, hiring veterans, all the things that we know are valuable to our community. We like our employees to reflect those same valuable members. I think our legal community can promote diversity and inclusion in the legal and justice system by keeping it as an issue in the forefront of their minds. In today's society, we're faced with so many difficult issues. These types of diversity issues sometimes become lost in the shuffle. And it's easy to put it on the back burner, saying I'll get to it tomorrow or on the next judicial candidate or maybe on the next employee opportunity. But I think that in order for us to be where we all want to be in a diverse and inclusive group, that it still needs to be a priority.
Congratulations, Catherine, from Hayden, Cowherd & Bullock.
From his first jobs in Washington, D.C., to his 7 years as a St. Louis prosecutor, to his role as an instructor for the National Institute for Trial Advocacy, Booker T. Shaw has connected with numerous young attorneys and law students across the country. Shaw has served as a trusted advisor and mentor to many young attorneys in the St. Louis community, urging them, no matter what their background, to seek out and nurture relationships with a diverse array of colleagues and professionals. Today, Shaw is a partner at Thompson Coburn and a member of their Diversity Mentoring Program, as well as co-chair of its Diversity Committee. In this role, he helps to oversee the creation of several diversity and inclusion-related materials, including reports, brochures, and lecture series.
As you may know, I am co-chair of our Diversity Committee at the Thompson Coburn Law Firm. And what motivates me it's born of a number of things. I guess from childhood, I learned from my father about just trying to help others. And it just kind of comes natural to want to continue to do that in the firm. There are a number of colleagues, both Black and white, who've never really interacted very much with one another growing up. Didn't go to the same schools, didn't belong to the same clubs, did not socialize together, and did not do things together. So it's partially, again, an opportunity to kind of get people to know one another, to interact with one another, to learn more about one another, and to feel comfortable interacting with one another that allows these business opportunities to develop and grow.
Sarah Seiss is chair of Armstrong Teasdale's Inclusion Committee, as well as part of its newly created Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Department. She is heavily involved with the firm's Women Inclusion Network, working closely with the Chief Diversity Officer and firm management to ensure that the firm's programs and initiatives are carried out. In 2019, Sarah was named a Fellow of the Leadership Council of Legal Diversity, which identifies high-level potential attorneys from diverse backgrounds and provides tools, training, and collaborative opportunities to help build relationships and further develop leadership skills.
What motivates me in my work with diversity and inclusion is just the desire to help and make the path for younger attorneys, especially women and diverse attorneys, a little easier. I've been inspired by so many people. The first person who really inspired me was my mom, who stayed home for many years and then made a decision to go back into the workforce when I was in my early years of high school. And she went back in a part-time position. And what that really showed me was that it doesn't matter what your position is. What matters is how much you give to that position. But for me, what inspires me most now is to see the young women and diverse attorneys come after me. They're so smart and engaged, and I just want to be a part of helping them. Speaking your mind and dialoguing respectfully about issues that people may differ on is encouraged. And I've found that having those difficult conversations and engaging in, a change perspective with leadership has been accepted.
Johnny Wang joined Stinson LLP directly as a partner, having left his previous firm as an associate. He has taken the lead on the firm's national diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. Johnny is passionate about representing the Asian American community and creating pathways to help them succeed in their endeavors. He currently serves on many boards and was the co-founding member of the Asian American Chamber of Commerce and the Missouri Asian American Bar Association. Johnny is actively involved in diversity, equity, and inclusion programming locally and nationally. He speaks regularly on the topic and helps businesses create a supportive workplace for their diverse employees.
Definitely our commitment to DE&I, that it's not just lip service, that it actually is a part of who we are, and it's something that we live out every day as we practice law. In terms of people who have inspired me to have an active role in DE&I initiatives, for sure there are members of the local Asian bar who started it. And when I started practicing law, there really wasn't a strong affinity bar. And seeing them take up that initiative and provide a mentoring place for law students that were diverse was really inspiring to see that they were willing to spend so much time investing in the futures of law students that it made me realize my own success is because of what they've done, and it's something that I need to continue to pass on. In terms of what our profession needs to do to improve the justice system, really comes down to diversifying the prosecutors, the defense attorneys, and the judiciary. Right now, we are underrepresented amongst our judges and amongst our prosecutors. And having diverse viewpoints and backgrounds is essential to accomplishing equity and justice and fair representation.
Carmen White is the Diversity and Inclusion Manager at Greensfelder, Hemke & Gale. Working with Chief Diversity Officer Chris Pickett, she is a key driver in enhancing their equity, diversity, and inclusion programs. Carmen has played a huge role in the firm's equity, retention, and advancement team, which focuses on growing and retaining a diverse group of employees. She also helped launch the Greensfelder L1 Diversity Fellowship Program, a unique opportunity for first-year law students who have demonstrated a commitment to diversity. In 2020, Carmen received the Rhonda F. Williams Service Award from the St. Louis University School of Law's Black Law Students Association, which is typically only given to attorneys.
Diversity and inclusion work can be tough sometimes. It's sort of like pushing a boulder uphill sometimes, and you have to be able to find something that can motivate you, because it can't just be the job. It has to be something more than that. I'm like into genealogy and family history. And I have a lot of work that I've done in terms of kind of researching my family and their lives and how they got to be where they were. And so because of that, I've spent a lot of time with my relatives talking to them about their life and how they grew up and their parents and grandparents. And so the most of my inspiration comes from that. We do a lot of outreach with our local law students. And I have found that to be extremely energizing and motivating because they are super smart. And I love being around smart people. And they kind of remind me of why I do what I do, because I see it as, we're trying to make a better profession so that when they come into it, that they can have excellent careers and that they can have opportunities where they're able to thrive and be their full potential. So I hope that in some way that I'm contributing to that. And so that's kind of why I enjoy working with them so much.
Congrats to each of these winners. Now let's meet our final group of diversity and inclusion honorees.
Alexis Williams has been the Assistant County Counselor for St. Louis since December 2019. In 2020, she chaired a new committee through the Bar Association of Metropolitan St. Louis's Young Lawyers Division, the committee addressing racial equity in St. Louis. Over the fall of last year, Alexis spearheaded a voter registration and education campaign in St. Louis, Promote the Vote, which educates voters on their voting options in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. At Promote the Vote events, potential voters were not only helped in requesting a mail-in or absentee ballot, but they were also helped in notarizing those ballots when Alexis went the extra mile by recruiting notaries to attend. The Young Lawyers Division's committee addressing racial equity in St. Louis continues to be a resource to underserved minorities and low to moderate income individuals who may be disproportionately affected by the recently implemented Missouri voting laws.
I think understanding that I am within the 5% of Black attorneys, I believe women are somewhere around 2%. So being able to advocate and hopefully open doors for women that come after me, for people of color in general that come after me is very, very important, because if there weren't people that opened certain doors for me or helped me with certain things, I wouldn't be where I am. So what makes me most proud of my work as an attorney? There are two things. So I'm a former prosecutor. I worked in the Special Victims Unit, and it was so rewarding. And I loved being able to look like the victims or the survivors that I saw, and to be able to identify with them and connect with them, because they were not used to seeing someone that looked like them in my position as a prosecutor. I don't even know where to begin with everything that I want to do with my career, but I do know that I would love to work within a company, a law firm, or some kind of organization where I can help continue to progress D&I work when it comes to law student recruitment with internships, when it comes to retaining Black and attorneys and people of color within law firms, within companies, within different institutions. I think it's so important to build and continue to progress that support system.
A leader within Sandberg Phoenix, Casey Wong is a member of the firm's recruiting committee, diversity committee, and appellate practice team. He also promotes diversity and inclusion outside of his day-to-day role as an attorney. Casey has been an active member of the Notre Dame Alumni Board of Directors and currently serves as chair for the Asian Pacific Alumni of Notre Dame. Casey is the vice chair of the Missouri Bar's Special Committee on Lawyers of Color in the Profession, whose mission is to identify, review, and evaluate existing programs or initiatives to increase the retention, promotion, and advancement of minority lawyers.
I believe that lawyers are leaders and that we struggle with a lot of race and equity issues, St. Louis in particular, and that whatever gains can be made within our profession will have larger repercussions on our society at large. So it motivates me on many fronts, and I happen to be a lawyer, so that's the domain I participate and contribute in. There are a lot of things that make me proud of Sandberg Phoenix. Keith Price has been leading the charge for a lot of diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts for a number of years. And under the leadership of our current CEO and managing partner, Bhavik Patel, I think we have a very progressive view in terms of making sure that we're wholly integrated and have an inclusion culture that is more than just words on a policy statement. I think we're really just kind of getting started with renewed vigor. I think last summer's events and tragedies, I think there's been a lot of efforts in the past that just hasn't translated to actual results, either in terms of truly equitable and diverse numbers in the legal profession and certainly not the inclusion portions of it. So I would say we pretty much have nowhere to go but up. When you look at the numbers of diverse minority attorneys in the profession compared to law school graduates, it's a little more than half, meaning the attrition in the profession as a whole. So I would say we have a lot more to accomplish.
Krista Moss serves as co-chair of the Missouri Bar's Young Lawyers Section Committee. In this role, she is part of a group that formally expanded the diversity seat representation on the Young Lawyers Section Council. David McCain currently serves as vice chair of the Missouri Bar's Committee on Diversity. He has also assisted with organizing diversity CLE programming and participated in meetings related to the Bar's recent Attorneys of Color initiative. Together, they co-chaired a CLE program utilizing a theatrical production on the life of Millie Sawyer, a woman who brought a freedom suit in Greene County in 1834. It was called The Millie Project.
I really take a lot of my inspiration from my parents. I grew up in a multiracial home in a community that was not as diverse. And then moving to Springfield, again, there's 4% minorities here. I think the birth of my son really played a significant role in that, because the more I looked around and I did not see people that looked like him, the more I personally felt that I was someone that needed to make a difference.
The person that got me started and passionate about diversity and inclusion in Missouri actually lives in a different state. His name is Henry Green. He's a Court of Appeals judge in Kansas. Based on the conversations and the discussions that I had with him, I knew already, even before I became an attorney, that diversity was something that was important to me. My involvement was based on my role as co-chair of the diversity committee for Young Lawyers section. And I do have to tip my hat to Krista, because I believe that she is responsible for doing most of the groundwork and coordinating with the folks from the Millie Project.
I kind of took it on as a challenge to create a very unique program. And so I collaborated with some of my colleagues and mentors in Springfield. And I said, hey, I have this idea. I really want to do something very specific. I want to have a CLE, but I don't just want it to be something where people go and attend. There's something different about seeing a moving piece of art and discussing it, as opposed to having someone lecture to you.
Being able to put it in a format that was different and engaging and informative was fantastic. And sometimes you'll see some CLE programming that involves showing films, things of that nature. But as mentioned, a lot of times it is more lecture-based. So being able to do it in the play format followed by the panel discussion was fantastic. And the feedback that we got was really good.
Hi, I'm Bob Tomaso, President-elect of the Bar Association of Metropolitan St. Louis. At BAMSL, we are proud to support Missouri Lawyers Weekly's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion event.
With Elizabeth Wente as chair of its Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, Spencer Fane strives to establish itself as a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive place to work for all. Under Elizabeth's direction, the committee has implemented a large number of initiatives aimed at creating a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive environment, and its members reflect a diversity that brings varied ideas and perspectives to the program. The committee recently provided educational opportunities for its over 500 attorneys and staff, including unconscious bias training. Elizabeth is also a member of the Women Advocate group within Spencer Fane. Advocate was created in order to recruit, retain, and advance female attorneys, understanding that their sustained success ultimately supports a competitive advantage for Spencer Fane. With the help of Elizabeth Wente's passion and dedication, Spencer Fane continues its award-winning commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion.
We formed the committee, the DEI committee, and it was originally called the Diversity and Inclusion Committee, which we have changed to make sure we're reflecting all of the things that are important to our firm as far as diversity efforts. And so the DEI committee started as almost a business development tool for the females in our firm, and then became more of a support system. So it's a group that advocates for the females within our firm and in our communities. Our committee focuses on identifying, attracting, retaining diverse talent. We work to build, maintain, and leverage a diverse and inclusive law firm, both attorneys and staff members, so that we can really strengthen the work that we do for our clients and our communities as a whole. We, took a little bit of a different format than we initially anticipated, in that it was all virtual, but it really gave our members this ability to interact with people from different offices, different geographical areas, and that in and of itself provides such different perspectives. So I think there are a lot of different ways that I've been driven to this specific topic and this movement. Some of it is that just the nature of my work. So, when I'm not sitting in the chair of the DEI committee, I'm a labor and employment attorney. And so I work on issues related to race, gender, age, day in and day out. So part of it is just that I'm surrounded by seeing all of the instances that happen in the workplace and really aware of the fact that we still have a lot of work to do. And the goals are constantly changing for me. I think this is DEI space is a space where if you're not updating your goals and changing them, it's never done. The work is never done. And so I think one of my goals is that I want to continue to not only educate, but teach people the practical ways. How do you interrupt unconscious bias or implicit bias when you see it? So really making sure that we're giving people the practical tools that they need, as well as the education on just what DEI concepts are. If you look at the statistics, the legal industry is one that does not have the same caliber of DEI efforts as some of the other industries. And I think we really have an opportunity to say, okay, let's look at things like pipeline. Are we building the pipeline that we need with diverse candidates? Are we reaching out when people are in law school? Are we making sure that we make law school accessible to everybody? But then also looking at, that's what I would view as the immediate problem, but let's look at the root of the problem also, meaning do people that are less fortunate or that are in different socioeconomic categories or are in, have different backgrounds, are they able to see themselves in the legal profession? Do they see somebody that looks like them? And if not, how can we change that? And how can we show them that they have the same opportunities as anybody else?
What a terrific group of change makers. Congratulations again to all of this afternoon's honorees, and thanks to each of you for joining us virtually to celebrate the accomplishments highlighted in our Diversity and Inclusion Awards. I'd like to once again thank our award sponsor, Mickus O'Toole. I'd also like to thank our event ticket sponsor, Lashley & Bear, our celebration sponsor, the Bar Association of Metropolitan St. Louis, and our VIP sponsors, Hayden, Coward & Bullock, and Thompson Coburn. This event is possible because of their incredible support. I also want to thank all of today's guests who interacted with us through hashtag MLMDiversity2021. Keep the comments and the photos posting and trending for the next several days. Let's continue the celebration. I know we all look forward to the day when we can come together in person, but until that time, thank you for celebrating excellence in this format. Visit molawyersmedia.com to watch the event again and to learn more about all of today's honorees. I hope you saw the special section that was in Monday's issue of Missouri Lawyers Weekly. That'll also be posted online. Again, none of this would be possible without the support of so many. Thanks to each of you for your attendance and generosity of time as we celebrated this recognition. We're so privileged to honor so many this afternoon. We truly appreciate the work you do each day. Congratulations to our honorees who keep us moving all forward. Be safe, stay healthy. We'll see you again soon. Thank you.
There is really one person in particular that I owe all of this to and that I would want to thank, and that would be my mother.
It's been a pleasure for me to work with my co-chair, Tony Anderson, our diversity director, Norma Jackson, and with the entire management team at Thompson Coburn.
My family, for sure. All my loved ones, family, friends. It's a village.
There are many times in my career, if the attorneys of the state of Missouri had not said nice, I'll use that as a shorthand for about 100 other adjectives, had not said nice things about me, I'd be doing something else.
He already knows this because I said this to him a lot. He's another attorney at our law firm. His name is Tom Applewhite.
Obviously thank my husband and my 3 children, Annie, David, and Bodie. I also have a huge thanks to my mom and dad.
Jim Robinson, who is considered one of the old guard for the Missouri Asian American Bar Association.
Well, I would love to thank my firm. More specifically, I'd like to thank my co-chair, Nate Lindsay.
I think the people that are most responsible for any success I've had in my career are my parents.
I'm a Christian. I like to thank God first, but I also would like to thank my family. I'm passionate about my family. As you can tell, it's something I'd never be here.
I want to thank my colleagues at my firm, Layla McMullen and Danielle Atchison especially. They are amazing.
I'd like to thank my bride, Melissa, my kids, as well as Sly James, who I mentioned earlier.
I would like to thank Meshach Rhodes, who is now the Chief Diversity Officer at Armstrong Teasdale.
I think I'd just like to thank all my friends in the Kansas City legal community.
One, I would certainly like to thank my nominators. I believe Judge Willie Epps was an individual who nominated me for this award, and I'm really grateful for that.
And I also want to thank Missouri Lawyers Weekly. For an institution like the Missouri Lawyers Weekly to take the time to recognize the importance of your work in helping to raise diversity in our profession and inclusion of all minorities into our profession is incredible. And it's outstanding. And quite frankly, if I had a diversity award to give to Missouri Lawyers Weekly, I'd give it to them right now. So instead, I'll just give you my thanks as a citizen, as a lawyer, as a judge.